The Walt Disney Company has come under intense scrutiny and criticism when it comes to the way that they have implemented their DEI standards and may have been excluding some in the process thereof. Now, we're taking a look at Amazon, folks. It's an exclusive today here on the Pro Channel. We'll be telling you how they figured out a way to beat the Walt Disney Company. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to the place where we endeavor to explain entertainment to keep you ahead of the culture curve. It is a joy as always, and we are overjoyed that you are here with us, as well as joining with Culture Casino and Nolan Thunder, both excellent content creators. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
That's right, folks. We're going to get straight to the story. And as we do, I just want to preface this by saying that we're going to set the table because there are many new viewers coming to this channel as we have resurrected, and we're back again, baby, better than ever. But as we have those new viewers, just understand, some people already know what we're going to say in the first few minutes. So if you already know what's going on with Disney and DEI, and you want to skip ahead 3-4 minutes, that's okay. No worries there. If you want to stick around, totally cool. But we'll get to the Amazon side of this, the Amazon response, in about 3 to 4 minutes. All right, gentlemen, here is the article that sort of sets the table for us. This by John F. Trent out of That Park Place. Disney executive says moviegoers that criticize the company's agenda want movies that conform to regressive gender stereotypes. We're going to skip a lot of this because we need to get to exactly what this executive said. Talking to Matt Belloni, she says, or Bellany, excuse me, I've said that the wrong way a few times before. The executive informed Bellany, everyone says it's the movie stupid, which is an easy thing for people to say. More appealing movies are a great way to jump the political issues. But more and more, our audience, or the segment of the audience that has been politicized, not Disney, they're not politicized, oh no, equate the perceived messaging in a film as a quality issue. Now, on the Pro Show yesterday, we talked about how ridiculously stupid this is. And we mean that. We're not usually so harsh, but the idea that the quality of something is separate from the message of the something, well, that is bizarre because clearly a story literally is a message. It's a visual display of message when it comes to films, and the message is completely and intricately interconnected with the quality of said film. The executive, again, a Disney executive, according to Matt Bellany, said, they won't say they find female empowerment distasteful in the Marvels or Star Wars, but they will say they don't like those movies because they are bad. And they are bad. The executive concluded, so make better movies becomes code for make movies that conform to regressive gender stereotypes or put men front and center in the narrative. And then the executive goes on to claim that Bob Iger is preparing to make that pivot. Now, I don't know if that's true, but talking about what's going on with Disney, if we take a look at this, this is from America First Legal. The reason we're showing this is because America First Legal is the company or the group that is suing the Walt Disney Company over their exclusion, allegedly, that's what the lawsuit is saying, the exclusion of white men and Christians. And it says, breaking, following the disclosure of damning internal company documents, AFL has filed a formal EEOC complaint against Disney, alleging pervasive illegal discrimination based on race and sex. Now, I want to clarify, we think the lawsuit is forthcoming. Right now, it is a formal EEOC complaint. And so we'll see how that goes. That will take some time for the EEOC to give their response to that, and then that will likely be part of a lawsuit response. But if we take a look at the Disney General Entertainment Content Inclusion Standards, this is really, really important, folks. This has an impact on every bit of entertainment that's coming out of the company. Take a look at just the top part here that says Standard A, on-screen representation. At least 3 of the following 5 areas need to be met to fulfill Standard A. And so this is what every single film, movie, TV show, short film, documentary, they're all trying to reach Standard A. Every single one of them. That's going to matter when we get to the Amazon side of this. It says characters, 50% or more of regular and recurring written characters come from underrepresented groups. So that means that the majority needs to be the minority. Actors, 50% or more of regular and recurring actors come from underrepresented groups. Same thing. Secondary characters, meaningful inclusion of underrepresented groups as secondary or more minor on-screen individuals, including background characters. So it carries through, not just the main characters, but the background. The series premise needs to have a meaningful integration of underrepresented groups and overall themes and narratives. In other words, if you are doing a theme or a story that is in any way centered on the majority opinion or the majority demographic i.e. the vast super majority of your consumers, then that's no good. And then episodic storytelling, ongoing meaningful integration of underrepresented groups in episodic themes and narratives. What this does, gentlemen, is this means that everything that Disney produces, it must be majority minority. Every single thing without exception. And so that's where they get into a real problem, is that, for example, gentlemen, let's say that Disney wants, or somebody pitches to Disney the idea of, okay, we're going to do a historical film about a young British boy who, for whatever reason, he decides that he's going to join the American Revolution. Well, that sounds like an exciting story. I'd like to hear it. I don't know if our British friends are going to be excited about that. Maybe they would. But there's a way to make that story very enticing. It will never be made, though, according to those inclusion standards, because there's no way to do that in a historically accurate way that meets all of those criteria. So that's gone. And you can think of a vast number of stories that they're not possible. It also means that if you're going to do a historical piece of any sort, you're probably going to find yourself having to do it in a way that's not historically authentic because you're trying to meet the modern requirements. So before we get to how Amazon has figured out a way around this, Culture and Nolan, what do you all think about this situation that Disney has created for itself where they can't produce a huge number of different pitches and content because of the standards they've set for themselves?
Well, I mean, it's a self-inflicted wound, and they've been doing that a lot lately in a lot of different areas with these ridiculous things that got inserted because of some political ideology. Look, it's ridiculous where they've put themselves. And again, the audience out of hand is going to reject anything that isn't historically accurate. They can't go back and make great films like they used to, reaching back into the past, because, well, they wouldn't be able to accurately portray them. I mean, we've seen some ridiculous things put out there into the mass media, like a Black Anne Boleyn or things like that. Disney can't do that and expect to survive. Maybe Netflix can, but even Netflix has been pulling a different direction on a lot of these things. And to be direct, I would say that Disney's kind of put itself over a barrel, and the executive that attacked fans, as I've been seeing it said across our sphere, this executive clearly doesn't for whatever reason think that her manner of thinking, her worldview, is a political view, calling things regressive. No, you have an alternate view that isn't within the mainstream or the populace at large. What I fully expect is for Disney to have to figure out a way to go back in time and fix this, but it sounds like maybe Amazon did.
Well, I'll say too, on this channel, you will see a wide variety. Talking about here on the Pro channel, you will see a wide variety of different people of different ages, of different backgrounds, skin colors, genders, biologies, all of that. But that's not something that we set up using quotas. But that's what Disney and more broadly entertainment. I mean, many of these entertainment companies have completely fallen into that. The reason that you see it organically happen on this channel is because we covet the opinions and thoughts of people of all walks of life. Yeah. But we don't set up arbitrary quotas that would pigeonhole us into formulas that might be damaging to a particular topic. It's just that we love people. I mean, truly, that's how this works. We love people, and we want to have all kinds of people on here, and we think the audience feels the same. Yeah. What's going on, Nolan, is that with these entertainment companies, they're attempting to draft out a brand new, a neo-morality ex nihilo. So there's no morality that was pre-existing, and then they're trying to create and put this into text, some sort of morality that they can then adhere to. And the problem is that morality is often derived over a very long period of time, right? So it's no surprise that they've done this very clumsily and that it's damaging to them. But it comes in response to them having lived under the Me Too situation, where for decades, Hollywood was being driven by absolute depravity behind the scenes. And now they're trying to present themselves as utterly just and moral, and they're screwing it up again. They're aiming in the right direction. Diversity, great. Inclusion, of course. The problem is they don't know how to do it, and they've done it extremely poorly. Nolan, your thought?
I completely agree on the matter. It's oppression from suppression. Like it just gets completely 180'd on itself. The concept of diversity at its core is beautiful. If I think most people can relate to the idea, and I sure hope everybody who watched, preschool shows growing up at least learned the simple fact that, hey, if that girl you met has red hair and you have black hair, hey, there's no reason to, hate each other. And it's some of the most simple basics that can be attributed to mankind as a whole. When you start, this can go in a very broad sense. When you start implementing rules for people to follow, you're already going into a domain where you're saying, you need to listen to my authority, and anything else that you go by is wrong. It's going to critically hurt you. And while it is true that we should all follow the values of loving each other and seeing each other for loving each other for their differences, when you have an artificial inclusion base, all you do is it's kind of an eye for eye sort of mentality, where you feel like the only way to make up for the pain you claim to have experienced, whether it is true or not, can only be reattributed through, okay, now we need to counter correct. And in a healthy society, the fact of the matter is, you can't just one up with the same strategy, because next thing you know, and we've seen it with mankind evolving, these issues that divide society could have been solved a very long time ago. But this whole mentality of in trying to create fairness, which is a good thing, instead we have caused it's so arbitrary to what is truly going to even out the playing field, so to speak. So for especially companies to implement these rules onto people, all you're doing is pointing more attention to what makes people different instead of what makes them the same. And
That's
all
a
of a
good point.
sudden,
Tribalism, yeah.
Exactly. And what you're going to do is you're going to start causing people to assume. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of us unfortunately make in our survival type mechanisms, is we tend to assume things out of people by how they look. And society has done this no favors. And if you beat over the head, whether you are white, black, different sexual orientation, whatever, if all you do is make what physical things you cannot control the attributes to your life, as opposed to your life choices or things you do for those around you, if all you go by is say, I was born with curly hair, then if I make that all about me, it's just going to divide people and make it seem like it's unfair, and it's just going to lead to a more negative, closed-minded society, when in reality, we had a lot more in common with each other than what we did not.
It's a great point. It's the balkanization of employees and of our entertainment. And I would also say we need to remember back to what Benjamin Franklin said when he was asked if we had a constitution of the government after the Constitution had been developed. And he said, yes, if you can keep it. And so it reminds me that the locus of morality has to reside in the individual. And so the individual has to manifest the ethic out into the world. That cannot be a top-down. And that's why we tell stories to little children when they start to grow up. We tell them about the little red hen, is to develop that morality inside the individual, because then in mass that percolates in every direction out through society. Hollywood has this in the reverse. Now, gentlemen, we took a little longer than I anticipated, but let's talk about how Amazon is getting around this. I want to say, folks, we're entering into rumor and speculation territory now, and this comes from a source that is of the highest level that we have. I utterly trust this source, but I cannot corroborate what they have sent simply because it's from a source. So let's talk about what they say. I'm going to paraphrase directly from the message I received, and here's what it says. Amazon, not Disney, remember, has all the viewer data that shows that DEI, as it is currently constituted, hurts the appeal of their content. Remember, Amazon has been all in on DEI. They have been doing all the grandstanding. But something has changed. And according to the source, it's extremely interesting. According to the source, Amazon manages their DEI guidance from a global annual total content perspective now. not necessarily on a show-by-show basis any longer. The source says, what I mean by that is that yes, Amazon is a DEI-driven streamer, but it is their final DEI tally at the end of the year that counts. Not every show needs a high DEI score. And by the way, this is becoming far more important for Amazon because they just made advertising revenue a huge component of their success, and they overtook Disney in the past year in terms of streaming hours. That means that this is a very big deal because now, who are the top 3 streamers? Well, it's not Disney. It's YouTube, Netflix, and Amazon. That's the big 3. Disney is not in the big 3. And culture, we all know that in any industry, as things begin to consolidate, you only have maybe 3, maybe 4 big pieces, big companies that drive any given industry. So Amazon has, they've achieved something major here. Looks like they're protecting it. Let me finish this out, and then Culture will get your thoughts on it. This source says that at the end of the year, it's a combination of the number of high-scoring DEI projects, the budgets invested in them, as well as the amounts involved in their promotions that tally up to show whether the entire company has been in good DEI standing. It goes on to say this is very different than the way that Disney, for example, has been doing things until recently, where every project needed a DEI high card score. The way Amazon sees it, allegedly, as more of the annual DEI bill of health, allows them to slide in a few, albeit lower budget projects that are not fully neutered by the DEI filters. That's how their small but hugely popular slate of shows like the Ryans, Reachers, and more can be allowed in the current environment. Culture, your thoughts on this macro way that Amazon is implementing this versus the micro way of Disney?
Well, I think it's safer for them. I mean, they can adhere to this strange ideology that's shared by this fractionally small version of the populace, and they can create shows and films that appeal strictly on the basis, and they can do that to the extreme. They're not going to get any viewership for those, and if they do, it'll be very limited, and they'll probably enjoy many negative reviews from people in our sphere. But then they can create the organically popular thing like Reacher. Reacher's an incredible show over on Amazon, or I guess they can buy it, I guess, because that is produced by somebody else. But it does give them a little leeway, and I think that works to their advantage if they want to maintain a top 3 position, as you suggest. You know, I think that's probably the best path forward. Disney, because of their lack of creativity at what used to be the most creative company in the world, could not possibly imagine doing something like that to push forward these incredibly
Well, let me pause you there, Culture. Let me ask you about that.
Yeah.
So the executive who is reaching out to Matt Bellany, you've got to start thinking about what is the impetus for them to reach out. Why are they responding? And in that last sentence, if you recall, they said that's where Bob Iger is pivoting to. I wonder if Disney realizes, hey, this what Amazon is doing, because listen, they're researching their opponents just as much as we are, or more. Disney has to know that Amazon has made this switch, allegedly. Do you think that Disney is going to switch from a micro to a macro system of judging DEI, which, by the way, even though Hollywood is very, very bad at morality, clearly, this is a better system than applying this to every single show, because then you can't have a single historical exception.
Well, they have a bigger, broader problem on their hands because, and this is something we've avoided in this conversation, they've opened themselves up, specifically Disney, because of these published things that we just went through, to massive EEOC issues, not to mention the fact that who knows how many hundreds of millions in lawsuits of people that are going to believe that they lost their jobs or had no opportunity because of some unfair practices. If you do it in the broader sense, and you know that it's not directed at every project, it's going to be harder to hit the target. With cases like that. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to pursue this. So to respond to your question, maybe that is what Iger is moving towards, but it's certainly not outward facing at this point, and it's certainly not supported by the people that he has in place in leadership. If they're lashing out in this manner and giving an anonymous quote to someone like Matt Bellany.
Well, and I know this is going to sound sappy and cliche to some, but I really do mean this. I think this is intensely important for society. The thing that needs to happen You can do all the workshops in the world. You can create all of these inclusion standards in the world. Until you emphasize the dignity and the humanity and the divine value of every single person in your employment and everybody you're going to come in contact with, you're going to have problems, because that is from which every other good thing flows in your company, is when you say, listen, we're all going to treat each other. I don't care what the color of another person's skin is. I don't care what their background is. I don't care what their age is. I don't care if you think you know everything because you're 22 and you graduated from Harvard. I don't care. From the custodian to the CEO, we're going to be good to one another because everybody here really, really matters, and we mean it. Until you set that as your defining principle, your axiomatic stand, you're going to have major issues. And Nolan, we have witnessed a 50% decline in the 2024 box office versus where it was pre-pandemic. I got to say, I think it's because this. I think it's because society is better than Hollywood. Let me say it again. I think our society is better than Hollywood, and they smell a rat when they see all of this artificial stuff on the cinema screen. I don't think people are interested in it. I think we want to go back to when we were not tribalistic. We had a short period of time there between the civil rights and this new movement where people were making progress towards saying, you know what? I'm pasty and I'm pale and I'm boring. Michael Jordan's my favorite basketball player. We had a time where we said, you know what? I can't dance. I don't have rhythm. But you know what? I like that Michael Jackson guy with his song, Billie Jean. I'm gonna try to dance to that. There was a time when we were doing this, and we were doing it the right way. Nolan?
Thriller's the best Halloween song ever. But to follow up your point, I must say, so all these companies, they've done all this work to build these rooms of inclusion, all these different rooms for you can feel accepted here, to like show, to feel seen and identified and such, to put everyone in these boxes. They built all these rooms, but did they actually build a door to actually coexist with everybody? Because it seems like all they've done is like separate. And I'll say it now, as someone who has worked for the Amazon company in the past, one of their warehouses, diversity type stuff was all over the place. And, you know, it was the typical stuff of, you know, DEI initiatives, to where if you're of certain backgrounds, you're going to feel a bit excluded. Certain types of race backgrounds seem to take priority over others. And there's only so much fault that can be given to, because I don't want to just throw a prior employment just under the bus, but it's with, it goes up to the top to where they're trying to follow certain rules and criteria, but the whole fundamental aspect is flawed, which causes more division and such. And I believe that if these companies were to enforce these in such a much more minuscule way, we could hopefully move back to the 90s again, to where there was, of course, you know, there's some people who are unfortunately very bad people who are going to discriminate and will never change. But the majority of society in the 90s was not racist. They were not sexist. We had made so much progress. And what we need to do is we need to do everything we can to get back to that. And I think Hollywood has really shown, because one thing that usually makes a major counter in culture is something really bad and catastrophic will happen. And then society will see some of the worst that humanity can be. And it's like, okay, we need to correct from this. You know, we had, you know, World War II. Eventually we had like the roaring 50s and stuff, like the boomer generation. Instead of like, we can use our technology, like say, to give a little history here, if you guys are familiar with the Chicago World Fair, one of the biggest things they were trying to push with that was they were trying to show society that technology could be used for good and convenience, you know, to help run around the house, you know, and raise a family that you could hopefully afford and such, as opposed to what society was used to, which was seeing technology for weapons of mass destruction. Going to today's issues, we are seeing the worst, and unintentionally, obviously, from Hollywood and such, of where we have overcorrected so much to the other side now. It's to where people are once again falling into the old habits, just in a completely different color now. And hopefully now society is going to reject what happens. And it seems like the most of these companies, they vow to ever the almighty $sign is for their companies because they want to
Nolan,
keep it going.
That was maybe not purposefully, but maybe subconsciously, the best way you could put that is when you said almighty and then you paused and said dollar. There's no better way to say that than how you did. Wowza, that's good.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Well, we have to wrap up, folks. We would love to keep going, and we will, but with more videos coming out. As always, here on the channel, 10:30 a.m., 3:30 p.m., 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time each and every day. Also, check out our sister channel, That Park Place, which is releasing content daily as well. You are truly missing out if you are not subscribed to Culture Casino and Nolan Thunder with their intensely awesome content. And folks, I hope to have Culture back on. During this video, Culture sent me some information, and I just thought about it for a moment and realized there is a topic that needs to be discussed, so we will probably be doing a follow-up real soon on this. You do not want to miss that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is now your turn to take part. Let this not be a bunch of talking heads on YouTube, but instead turn this into a community as you do so well. Drop a comment down below. Also, like, share, subscribe, and click it. Stick it to the algorithms. It is indeed the notification bell. Remember, folks, if there's any good thing that comes out of this channel being restored on YouTube after a short pause, it is that we say this to you. If you would like to know if you're on the right side versus what Hollywood is doing when it comes to all of these issues, think in your own heart. When you see someone hurting, will you put your arm around them regardless of any kind of skin color issue or age or anything else? And if you see someone succeeding, will you celebrate with them? If you are drawn to the best and to the worst to make those situations better, then you're a good person. And we hope you'll continue, but never stop improving. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.
No, hey Florl. What you doing? Thinking about Rome?
No, I wasn't. But thanks. Now I lost the game.
Dang it. Now I lost the game. Oh,
No.
Well, now you're a double loser.
Hey guys,
Game.
you know what would help you in your grief? Forgetting those things and filling your mind with articles from thatparkplace.com and using that website as a launching pad to get you lost in thought with all of the team from there.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea.
Yeah. Oh, well, Flora, would you look down here?
I hate you.